So hi guys, welcome to Sustainable Production 3, and this week we're looking at kinetic garment construction. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to each one, every one of you for making me feel very welcome this week. I enjoyed being in the classroom with you all. I'm just going to move my paper and we're going to get started. So yeah, this week we're looking at kinetic garment construction, and I think this is the last bit of your module. So what does the word kinetic actually mean? So it's a moving, it's an active, it's an action, it's an energetic word. So it just literally means to move. And this is the basis, and this is the basis of the method and technique. It's the relationship between a piece of fabric being draped over the body, and as you can see, the pulling and twisting around the body, the transitional and rotational movements around the body, and this is the base of kinetic garment construction. Obviously, traditionally, we're taught the flat 2D method of the tailoring matrix, where we've got like the mannequin, which is stood still, and say a person, if you're working on a person, they're standing static. And then we obviously pattern cut on a flat surface, which is two-dimensional. So it's very static. But the kinetic approach is a way of bringing the clothes to life. So you see this movement around the body. This diagram here with the red lines all over it is actually taken from Langer lines that they use in a surgery technique. They use it to like map out where skin stretches on the body, when you move. This is why they put like these arrows going in different directions, because this is how naturally our body does move. We've got all these weird and wonderful lines going around the body, around the torso, around the legs, around the arms, and that just that gives you an idea of what kinetic pattern construction is. This is what it's based on, and then this over here is I think it was called a body stocking, and it's somebody called Richard Lindquist who designed it. So he's the person we're going to look at today, because it's his PhD thesis that he investigated a lot of these theories with his own work. Just looking to see where I am on the paper. So if we just look at so obviously we've talked about our traditional approach to pattern cutting based on the mathematical systems with vertical and horizontal measurements known as the tailoring matrix, and as I said, these measurements are generally taken from a person standing still in an upright position. But as I said, the kinetic garment construction, that adopts a different approach, works solely with the fabric and the body, thus constructing flexible garments and designing the garment in response to the natural body movement. So I was thinking about this, and if you think about like athletes, when they wear like tight-fitting, lycra pieces, it's kind of like, that piece of clothing is designed specifically to be flexible because of what it needs to do. And this is kind of what kinetic garment construction is. It's not a method of draping in the traditional sense. It's a process of working with the body outwards. What does the body need in that piece of fabric? So as I said earlier, Richard Lindquist made a series. I think I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I think it's actually Richard. He's actually Swedish, so it probably is. He made a series of prototypes. And he made it from a single piece of fabric, highlighting those different body movements, and it's called biomechanical points, and directions of the body to show kinetic movement. Biomechanics is just a fancy word for human movement, and he looked at this as a starting point. So as you can see here, his PhD is full of studies that he did around the body, I'm not obviously going to show you all of that today because it's just a very, very long study. It's over 100 pages long. I could only pick out little bits, but this just gives you a little taste of what he does. And, you know, he went into studying movement around the body, and then he mapped it out. So, you know, the yellow, I actually need to get my other bit of paper for this because it's on another piece. Sorry about the sound. So, you know, he looked at those starting points and he mapped out fundamental directions on the body. So like the yellow like represented the arms, like this movement here. The red was the torso movement around the body, and the blue was, what was the blue? The shoulders. So you can see the back of the neck and then the direction coming down the shoulders. And then he mapped that out onto a pattern of how it would look, just showing you that movement, that kinetic movement with the pattern. Or yeah, constructing it on a living body too, because that's how he started it. And as I said, there's these fundamental structural points and directions that he uses to map out when he's thinking about designing. You know, this is where his starting point is. So why kinetic garment construction? So it's not about the pattern. It's all about the body and what the garments do with the body. So it's all about body, you know, it's not about us creating the pattern, it's about us looking at the body first and then working outwards. It's also a way of bringing those clothes to life with that movement that we talked about. And it can be applicable to any type of human body and adapted to size and individual bodies. So, you know, I was thinking about like wheelchair users, maybe they need a flexible garment that could be designed for them, or something, you know, to do with sports, that sort of thing. And it's a great foundation for constructing, like I said, flexible garments. So it's an alternative to the traditional tailoring matrix of that static and still pattern drafting. So Richard Lindquist, or Richard Lindquist, is a Swedish fashion designer. He developed the ideas for kinetic garment construction whilst working in, and was impacted by the work of costume designer Geneviève Sivin-Durang. I hope I've said that right, that's French. Her method is based on the studies of pre-tailoring garment making. So before, you know, the tailoring matrix existed, she looked at Middle Ages and like ethnic costumes for her patterns or her drafting. And yeah, as I said, Richard spent some time with her and he learnt some of her ways of drafting patterns, and then he spent some time researching it, and you can find a lot of his research in his book Remarks on the Foundation of Pattern Cutting. So yeah, it's really interesting stuff. I'm still looking through it myself, and I think you're going to learn, you know, lots of different things when you read it, which is good. So as I was talking about before, he also he designs for a brand called Atacak, and here is one of his shirts based on the kinetic garment construction. You can see those lines again on this shirt. And, you know, the pattern pieces are quite unusual, you know, they're almost zero waste, but also it kind of, thinking about that transformational reconstruction thing that we looked at last week, it kind of flows into that nicely. This is just some moving examples of wrapping the body in fabric, which is some of the studies again that Richard did in his PhD. Sorry, I'm just moving my notes again. And yeah, it's, you know, he looked at traditional and ancient garments such as the sari, the toga, the Arabic hajik, and, you know, he wrapped garments, you know, from the shoulders, from the waist, and he modelled them on the living body just to see how the fabric would react around the body. So that was quite interesting to kind of see these little videos. And he designed a jacket. Again, there's so much in this PhD thesis that he wrote, and I can't cover all that today, but he designed a jacket. I think it was made from, let me just check, I did write this down. It was like a hard shell jacket, like a waterproof, which I'll show you a picture of now. But the starting point for this was very basic. It was just about draping the first piece over the shoulders, just to see which direction and how he was going to start draping, or how he was going to start wrapping the body in the fabric with using the kinetic movements. You know, obviously when the body moves around or walks or moves an arm, he looked at that and he took it step by step. And they ended up with, so I'm just going to drink a bit of water now. He ended up with this jacket, which you see here on the left, because one of the things he said was that he wanted to design the sleeves wrapped around the arm, instead of it being like designed, you know, you have the shoulder seam here and then you have like a sleeve set in. He actually designed it that the sleeve wrapped around, so your seams were very different. And as you can see here, it's a very unusual looking lay plan of this jacket. And I think one of the reasons was that he wanted to stop the rainwater from getting into, you know, kind of into those areas where you get like more exposure. So it was just about clever thinking. So as I said earlier, he designs for a brand called Atacak. I hope I've said that right. And they work with digital, and so they work with virtual reality, and they work with fabrics in real time as well. But they mix the two, you know, the kinetic pattern cutting with the digital. So it's very, very, you know, forward thinking in that, in terms of having something to present in real time, and, you know, creating things that are, you know, you can present it and put it up and see it immediately. And that's something that he still works on now. And this is just an example on the Atacak website, where, you know, they give you like, say they've designed a pair of like trousers, it shows you the pattern pieces, and then it kind of gives you like what they look like in real life, and you can actually go on there and shop it virtually, and then it's made up. So nothing is made until it gets ordered. So it's a really good way of reducing waste as well. And yeah, I just think that that's just a really forward-thinking way of doing things. And I think, you know, if they're using that kinetic garment construction and mixing digital with virtual, it's very it's going to be very exciting. So yeah, this leads us to the question: is kinetic garment construction sustainable? Yes. As the real and virtual merge, adapting to the future will require designers to think about looking at how they can utilize a digital platform to create designs. So if you think about your generation, you know, this is something that you could think of in the next 5 years. If things are going to move forward even more, you've got like the crypto gaming world kind of taking over fashion, and it's only going to kind of move more in that direction. Although we're going to, you know, still need to use traditional methods, there's always room to learn about futuristic methods as well. And, you know, well, it's still early days, there's still development going on, nothing's perfect, so, you know, maybe you can answer that. And then I wanted to end on just you guys looking at Atacak. They're a really cool brand, like I said. They'll tell you a bit more about what they do, better than I would. So worth watching that. And then I'm going to see, because the last time I clicked on this and it went on there. Let's just click to the next slide. No, I don't want that. Let's stop that a minute. I'm going to end on a quote. Clothing is ultimately made to be worn. It is complete only at the instant it is donned by a living being. And I just thought that really sums up kinetic garment construction. because we're supposed to design clothes that are made to be worn. And Yoji Yamamoto was the person that said that. And hopefully we can all take that with us as we go into this next week with our own work. And that is it, guys. Look at some of the stuff that I talked about. Maybe look at the PhD that Richard Lindquist has written, because it's very, very interesting. And then if there's anything you want to ask us, please go ahead. There's also, check out, the fashion design Instagram and Dati Clothing and the Sustainable Studio. And I just want to say thank you and have a good evening. Thanks, guys.